Hello everybody, welcome back to Cisco Talks. My name's Hazel Burton. I am a cybersecurity storyteller for Cisco UK and Ireland. Delighted to be joined by Martin Lee, who leads Talos Outreach. First of all, Martin, can you talk a bit about Talos and what they do?
Certainly. Talos is Cisco's threat intelligence and security research organisation. So our role is to follow the threat environment and identify what the bad guys are up to at this moment and ensure that our customers are protected against those latest attacks.
Great. And what are the bad guys up to? What are you seeing out there?
Well, the bad guys will typically go after the easiest route inside of organisations. So lots of social engineering, lots of phishing attacks, continuously trying to exploit known vulnerabilities. And of course, we also have the most sophisticated threat actors who are always trying to find new ways inside of organisations.
So you mentioned actually known vulnerabilities. What's your advice to organisations when we talk about the vulnerabilities that are out there?
Patch, and patch again. Developing new exploits for vulnerabilities is difficult, it's expensive. It's far easier to hit vulnerabilities that are known about, that are characterized. So bad guys will typically use known vulnerabilities to get inside of systems. So best way you can protect yourself, patch, remove that vulnerability. If you can't patch, then put something like an IPS system in front of that, so you're protecting, stopping that exploit coming in to hit the vulnerable system.
Great. Now, Talos are prolific in chasing down very sophisticated attacks. One in particular recently was DNS espionage. Could you talk a little bit about that?
So yes, over the past 6 months, we've seen two separate campaigns by two different threat actors that are subverting the DNS system, which is one of the fundamental protocols which allows the internet to function. So bad guys compromising the DNS system, giving out malicious IP addresses to systems that are asking legitimate questions, what is the IP address of this particular domain, to the legitimate system, but getting back a malicious response to that. So hence it's so important to use something like the cloud-based DNS system, so that we can actually detect within the telemetry and within the data that we have available when the bad guys are undertaking these DNS redirection attacks. They do leave the traces. We can spot them in the telemetry, and we can protect you if you are using our systems.
Okay, so DNS espionage, and there was also the case of DNS Messenger, which Talos sought in 2017. So we're really seeing more attacks at the DNS layer.
Well, there was in that particular case, but the command and control system was being undertaken over DNS. So yes, the DNS protocol is very clearly something that the bad guys are looking at and trying to find ways that they can subvert that to their own means. But we're so lucky to have systems such as Cisco Umbrella, where we can spot this activity because we are collecting so many DNS requests, 160 billion each and every day. That gives us an enormous amount of information which we can analyze, and which we can search for evidence of this kind of activity, and then block it and protect our customers in that way. So we know that the bad guys are actively looking at this. We know that the most sophisticated threat actors are looking at how they can subvert the system. So it's so important that people are aware of these kinds of attacks.
Last question, Martin. What would be your best advice to organisations who are dealing with these sophisticated attacks and want to ensure that their organisation is protected?
Well, I think the first thing that any organisation has to do is be aware of what actually is the risk. So what are the techniques that the bad guys are using, and also within the organisation, what do they have at risk? And I think a very good place to start is asking yourself the question, what could possibly go wrong? Once you've asked that, you can then start looking at, well, how could we protect ourselves? What different overlapping layers of security can we put in place? What procedures do we need to have in place? What good governance do we need to have in place to make sure that we do have an effective security posture, and also be aware that that posture will change over time. If you wanted me to say one thing, patch. patch, and patch again. But that's only part of an effective security posture. But all of that starts with awareness and being aware of what the problem is and what's at risk.
Excellent, great. Thank you for that awesome advice, Martin. Talos have a blog, and they also release lots of information on that blog about new vulnerabilities, new types of malware. So do check that out and subscribe to it. But we'll be back very soon with another video. Thank you very much.